14th. The time is 6:30 on the dot. This meeting is called to order. Roll call, please.
Member Welch,
Present.
Member Carr,
Present.
Member Mora,
Present.
Member Pryforce is absent, Member Bowders is absent, Member Collins,
Present.
Member Chagoya is absent, Member Donaldson,
Present.
Member Solis,
Here.
Member Van Geffen,
Estoy aquí.
Okay, I'd like to open for public comments, please. Do we have any public comments via written? Okay, with no public comments, I'd like to move on to information items. We will like to invite John Pandolfo. Are you present for our solar presentation? And I would also like to introduce,
sorry, we have approval of minutes.
Oh.
And
Oh,
public-
sorry.
Public, oh, you already did.
okay, we need to go back and do the proof of the minutes. I believe Member Solis, Donaldson, and Bowders were absent. So do they abstain? Okay. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes?
I move approval of the December 7th, 2023 minutes.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Mora. Member Pryforce,
Aye.
Member Collins,
Yes.
Member Donaldson,
Abstain.
Member Solis,
Abstain.
Member Van Geffen.
Yes.
And now we'd like to invite for our solar presentation, Mr. John Pandolfo. And we would also like to introduce this evening our new Operations and Maintenance Director, Mr. Ishmael Sharif. Welcome, Mr. Sharif, to the district.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can. Do you hear me okay? That's our small room. Oh, so it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Joe Pandolfo. I'm the Executive Vice President with Total School Solutions. And we were brought in to help with the district maintenance program and kind of move things along. And particularly once your previous maintenance director left, we were brought in to kind of help with this, be the owner's rep for the solar project. And we attend weekly meetings with Dr. Scott and just make sure that try to basically keep the project on track the contractors, question things that need to be questioned, and just pretty much act in the district's best interest on the project. So that's what, tonight I'm just going to go through an update, typically what your previous maintenance director would have done, and just give you some information on that. So the project entails the installation of a photovoltaic system. They don't call it a solar system because I guess it sounds kind of weird, but it's, it's solar power and with battery energy storage. So you might see the term BESS, B-E-S-S, battery energy storage system. That's what they mean by that. The other part of this project too, that isn't in that bullet, is also there were quite a bit of energy efficiency upgrades as part of this project. So for instance, they upgraded the CO2 sensors, which are for the classroom, and that helps with the fresh air for the students and the staff so that the air stays cleaner. They updated refrigeration controls. They had some HVAC renovations where they straightened out and cleaned some coils. They did testing. They replaced, not all the lights in the district were LEDs. They went through and replaced all the LED lights. And you can see where this project, it's all about energy efficiency. Then of course the battery storage we talked about. And then they also actually did some work on what they call the building envelope, which is the door, the part of the building envelope they worked on are the doors and try to seal them up better and make sure that they were more efficient. So they did all that with the hopes of more than a hope, but with the goal of generating savings for the district between the energy savings plus the solar part. The original contract was a little over $5 million. And then if you looked at this contract, in the contract, it also mentioned that the district should put some money aside for what they called allowances because there were some conditions that they were unknown and they were cautious about. And so some of those conditions actually they ran into, I think it was like water, when they were working on the footings of the solar structures. And so that required extra work. So things like that happen. It's not atypical with projects that they end up with change orders because it's hard for the architect to see everything that's going to happen, what they're going to run into. So that's not unusual. So the change orders are about $467,000, which brought up the total contract to $5.5 million. The estimated savings when they created the contract was about $234,000. If they redid that, my guess is that's going to be higher because the utility rates are going up quite a bit. So, this is a really nice project for the community and it's the timing on it's good. For instance, last year's electric costs were $300,000 and they're only going up. The percentage completed as of the end of March was about 77%. So, most of the project's done. They still have the part to go that's with the battery energy storage system and then the connecting everything out. And they're hoping to complete it by December 2024. And so that's the completion date. And just by the way, too, this is a design build project, which is typical for the solar projects in schools. The vendor designed the project and is building it. The district didn't hire the architect or pay for the architect. That's included in the cost of the project. So the main contractor, you may have heard of this company called Sizer Co. They're the ones who are basically the general on the job, and they're responsible for to fulfill the contract. They use various subs. The one they use the most is called BEI, and there's a gentleman named Colton that's on the weekly call that basically is doing his firm is doing most of the work. The district also has an inspector of record. So this is a state project. So there's this state agency called the Division of State Architects. And the Division of State Architects, anytime you do any major work on a school, they have to approve everything. And they also require an inspector to be on the site, which is really good for the district because the inspector is like a private set of expert eyes looking at the project and reporting back, if there's any concerns and holding the contractor's feet to the fire in terms of, what's being done. The special inspector will also, the IOR, they call them, inspector of record, will also bring a special inspector because sometimes there's some lab things that need to be tested. So things are looked at and school standards are very stringent. So there's the Division of State Architects I mentioned has to approve this. And there's although there's one contract with Sizer Co, there's three separate applications with DSA, the Division of State Architects. And that's because if you put in one big application, DSA is notorious for taking a really long time to get things processed. So they strategically broke it up to get it through. So that's why there's three different applications there. Oops. So the three phases were the parking lot field arrays, and those are complete along with the energy efficiency updates that I listed out before. The rooftop arrays, the estimated completion is August 2024, so they're pretty close on that. And they're waiting for building C and D, and they're going to go, pretty much hog wild on those once school's out, for obvious reasons. And then the big part that's left is this battery energy storage solution. It's supposed to be completed by December 24th, December 2024. So this is just a summary of the change orders to date. What basically when the change order goes through, there's a process where basically the district needs to approve it. So district staff approved it, eventually the board approved it. And so, like I mentioned, that often happens with projects that, things need to be changed. And so any change to the contract ends up being a change order. And that's what this is here. So the location of the battery energy storage system is on the map here, and you probably know where it is, over by the parking lot. If we take a bird's eye view, where those cars are parked and I have those arrows, that's where the system is going to be installed. And basically the summary is phase 1 is complete. Phase 2 is almost there. You're near the finish line on that. Phase 3 will be starting, in the fall and finish in December 24. And the big thing is the system is scheduled to be online in January of 2025. And I don't think there should be barriers to get that the system all interconnected and up and running by January. A lot of the, with construction projects, sometimes there's things that are, more prone to have barriers. But I think most of those are out of the way. So the team feels pretty confident that January is going to be a good date for this. And so that'd be great. And then the money can start being saved and the project can be wrapped up. And it's, like I mentioned, I think it's a good project for the community. So, so that is all of my presentation. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilmember Mora?
Thank you. Thanks for the overview. One question that just crossed my mind was, what's the value proposition of the battery if we're going to be, is this going to be a net energy metering 2.0 or 3.0? Because if it's 2.0, essentially, doesn't the grid act as your battery?
Yeah, and I'm sorry for that level of question. I'd probably have to go back to the contractor. So I'm not gonna give you a good answer on that, but I can find that out and get back to you. So the question is it NEM 2 or 3?
Yeah, and if it's 2, then why build batteries? Because you essentially every kilowatt hour you put into the grid, you can take out
back.
at no cost. You
Yeah.
get to treat the
Well,
grid as a battery.
Yeah, and I thought, and again, I'll have to research it, but I thought that MEN 2 expired last summer.
I think this project got approved under NEM 2.
Okay. Well, let me look into that. I am not sure, so I want to give you a good answer. So I'll contact Dr. Scott with an answer and she can get it out to you, okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Good
Well,
question.
I would say personally, just one reason that we're doing it is in case of an emergency.
Like power outage to the school. Does that happen often?
Anything could happen. these
Yeah, it's-
days.
What I mean is they don't typically shut off power in
Oh, but
urban
if there was an
areas.
earthquake, if there was a fire, if there was,
So it's purely emergency.
and that's, I'm just saying personally, that I love the idea that there's battery storage here.
Yeah, it's,
And that this will literally become like a center for the community if the city goes bananas.
yeah, and a lot of schools in North Bay, especially during the wildfires, the shutouts, which you may not get here. I mean, if your power goes down, it's a big problem, you know, so I would say that it is probably wise, since you're doing all this work anyway, you know, take the extra step. But I will get answers to your question.
Also, the idea of using the grid as a battery doesn't work when you're talking about after peak hours. So from your 5 till 9 PM, when the solar isn't producing as much, the grid isn't necessarily providing it, or the prices are going up. So you can go back to the battery and use the energy at a lower rate than you would pulling from the grid.
And correct me if I'm mistaken, when I first moved here 20 years ago, the gymnasium was considered the central location for an emergency. Has that changed?
No, that's
Or-
designated as a shelter by Red Cross for emergency.
Okay, so it's a good thing that we do have backup. Any other questions? Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say thank you as an educator that you all thinking about disaster preparation and emergency relief because you're essentially in charge of our babies and looking after our babies and yeah, and the extra step usually is facilitated by an extra cost, but I mean, when it's your child, right? You know, how much is that worth? And so, so I just want to say thank you as a city council member.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to open for public comments. Any comments on this agenda item? Okay, any follow-up? Okay, with there being none, we'll move on. This is for information only. Hi,
Hi,
are you up next?
I am up next.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the update on third-party rentals.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to give a quick overview of our current third-party revenue. We're budgeted to bring in $210,000, and currently, as of today's projections, we're going to hit that number, barring anything that might come up. But just as a reminder, all third-party rental money is collected through our registration system. And then except for any direct costs to our staff and our facility. And then that is deposited back into the operations and maintenance to offset our cost into the ECCL. Currently, this is the nutshell of what we have going on here, and we're still pretty jam-packed. We have our gym sports, which includes indoor soccer programs, indoor volleyball, basketball, and also a second volleyball rental. We've recently picked up pickleball in the gym. And then we have our field sports, our soccer, and we've recently seen an uptick in ultimate frisbee in the evenings. Our pool is always busy as usual. We have our Manatees Masters program. We have our Piedmont USA Youth Swim Team and the Oakland Tri Club are all rentals of our pool regularly year round. We did have our church, the Bay Area Christian Church. They still rent from us, but recently they acquired a new space closer to their congregation in El Cerrito and Richmond. So they were able to move into another space closer out there, but they still rent from us twice a month. But that was something in the revenue. That was one of the reasons why we had to take a hard look at the revenue coming in, because we did lose them. They were coming every Sunday, and now only see them once or twice a month with our classroom use. And then we've seen a huge uptick in our one-time rentals, birthday parties, family events, and especially the ever popular graduations coming up very soon. Just a breakdown of the percentage of the revenue that we see. Pull hours are definitely our biggest revenue generator. The field will be next at 21% of our revenue is coming from the field rentals. Gym is at 17%. And then we have our one-time rentals ranging from anything that uses the building A to building C. And our classrooms is about 11%. And then recent with the church with the less hours is about 5%. And that's all I have for you for now. Do you have any questions?
Member Dunn?
That is the revenue percentages, right? And how maxed out are they?
As far as usage wise, they're pretty maxed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there really isn't that much room for,
Where we have room is one-time rentals and filling that void that the church has left. And so myself and our team, Guillermo Navarro is our recreation supervisor, we actually sat down recently and talked about how we are going to go out and find other rentals similar to the church so that we can get that back up and running. So, but our gym, our field, and our pool are, yeah.
you know? Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Penka?
Futsal and Zog.
Yeah.
What are those?
So futsal is indoor soccer. So they use the gym and actually play soccer within, it's in a smaller course. And then Zog is an organization that rents from us. They're an adult sports league. So they organize all of those teams, which is volleyball on Thursday nights and basketball on Wednesday nights. And they use our gym. Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open for public comments. Okay, with there being none, let's move on to our action items. Ms. Dorsey is coming for approval of the operation and maintenance budget for 23-24 and capital mid-year adjustments. Good evening, Ms. Dorsey.
Good evening, board members, council members, and members of the audience. This evening, we're going to look at the budget for our maintenance budget and the capital reserve budget. We're now looking at the spreadsheet for our maintenance budget, the O&M budget for this year and the preliminary budget for next year. So basically, our attention is focused on the last two columns on the worksheet on your right-hand side. So the second column, we are looking at the projected estimated actuals that we are going to close out the end of June for this school year. It's going to be a total of $1.8 million for the O&M budget. And apparently it aligns with what we original adopted back in July of 2023. It's not much difference between the original budget and the estimated actuals. Any questions on the estimated actuals for this school year before we look at the preliminary budget for next school year? So the revenue is basically into three different categories. One is the third party that Rebecca mentioned earlier, which is the 210,000. And then the two other items that make up the revenue is the city share, which is at 29%. And then the school share is at 71% of the entire O&M budget. So if there is no question, then I will continue on to next school year preliminary budget. So next school year, we are projected at the same third party level, which is 210,000. And then with 29%, the city is going to be projected to put in 520,000. And then the school at 71%, we're going to put in 1.27 million into this O&M budget. And what it consists of is pretty well the salaries and compensation for the 5 custodians. And also the overtime budget of $10,000. And then the sub-budget of $15,000. You can see there is a drop in the projected budget because with the additional 1.0 custodian on board, we are projected to see a cut or a savings in calling in the custodian subs. And then 174,000 for the admin salaries, which is consists of my 30% on this budget and the entire salary cost for our director of maintenance position. And then we are looking into 131,000 material costs, which based on 5% annual inflation. And then 4,000 for the training and conference, which is double of what's the budget for this year, because we hire a new person replacing Jody, and that person, I would assume he probably will need more professional development. And then 65,000 for the property insurance. This is only an estimation. We will know the we will know the final number before we adopted the budget in June. And then utilities, we are counting on 5% inflation again. So the 344,000 is for electricity, 122,000 is for the gas, and then 26,000 is for the water. Then we have a budget of 58,000 for the repairs, which again is based on 5% inflation. And then 33,000, close to 34,000 for the PBIP, which is the 4% increase assumption. And then 5,925 is the audit expenses for next school year. And then the contracted services budget, based on inflation of 5%, is now 319,000. And then for the network or internet, it's 20,000 for next school year. That total up to $2 million on the O&M budget. Again, this is a preliminary budget. Some of the numbers, once we find out the exact number, we're going to adjust the budget accordingly. And the school board will approve it at the end of June next month. So any questions on this piece of worksheet?
The solar savings are going to be recognized in 2025?
The solar savings is not going to recognize in the original budget,
Uh-huh.
but I had a discussion with Sysico, which is our contractor. We are going to update this budget on the savings on the utilities during the interims.
Thank you. How have you managed to keep the audit expenses low annually? Is this in-house or somebody's cousin?
I think the audit contract is actually for multi-years. It's supposed to be ended in 25, 26. So when we pick them, one of the concern that we have is actually, besides picking the quality services, we are also looking at the contract amount. So this is a very reasonable company that we've been using. Yes.
Are there any other questions?
Oh, okay. All right, so these are the fiscal detail report that we run in the system. Again, these numbers are really what we just look at in the spreadsheet. So, Joel, is there any way that you can move all the way down to, I think, skip the 35 pages? Yeah.
You'll have to let me know when to stop.
Yeah. Because
Drew, if
right
you
now
can go to
we're
the
done with
capitals
the
page.
O&M budget. We need to,
Right
okay,
there.
right there. Go one page down. Okay, okay. So now we are done with the O&M budget. We're going to look at the capital reserve. Okay, so this one, we're looking at what we are projecting for this school year for capital reserve budget, which is the first column. You will see the estimated actuals for this school year. We start with a beginning balance of 286,000. And then we received $9,000 interest. And then the city is supposed to put in 62,000 in this budget annually. And then the school is supposed to put in 210,000. These are all spelled out in our joint ownership agreement. So we receive a total of 282,000. So the expenses is 83,000. If we go back up one page, Joe. Okay, these are the detail of the expenses that we incurred for this school year. So we spent a total of 63,000. These are the list of the expenses. And then out of these POs, two of them, we are still encumbering 19,000, close to 20,000 in here for this year. So my assumption right now, these are the bills that we're gonna probably will receive from the vendors or the providers, either later on this month or the end of next month. And then we will be moving them from the encumber column into the spent column. But right now I'm taking it, these are the total expenses that we incurred so far in our capital reserve budget for this school year. So now go back to the next page. Okay, so I want to show you guys what actually comes up actuals, which is the middle column, actuals as of May the 9th of 2024. So we have the same beginning balance. But so far, we haven't put in any money into the budget yet. So we only received 5,000 so far out of the interest income. And then the spend expenditures are 63,000. So that is what we are right now standing early May of the school year. And then the last column on your right side, the 24-25 preliminary budget. So we're gonna have a projection of beginning balance of 485,000. So we are still budgeting for 9,000 for the for the interest. And then with the same contributions from the city and the school, so it's a total of 282,000 for next school year. Right now, I'm not gonna put in any expenditures. We are gonna budget the budget as we go. So any PO or requisitions that they put in, we will put in an update on the budget for this capital reserve account. So any questions on this one, on the capital reserve?
Member Van Geffen?
For the preliminary budget, does that account for the city share and school contributions that haven't been paid yet for this year?
Eventually, they must be paid by the end of June.
But are they reflected in the preliminary budget for the
Yes.
ending balance?
Yes, see on the right, on the left side where you, under where you see the city share, 62,000. And then for the school general fund contribution into the capital reserve, it's going to be 210,000. So when I build up the budget, I assume these are the obligations both parties has to put in the capital reserve account.
I understand that that's the expectation that the amounts will be paid during the next 24-25 school year,
Yes,
but it's zeroed out for this year, 23-24. So the ending balance for this year doesn't yet reflect the amounts that are to be paid.
it's,
So I was assuming that that would carry over
okay.
as missing next year as well. in
It's
this.
0 out as of, we run the actuals at the, on May the 9th. We haven't received any money from both parties yet. So that's why you're seeing they are 0 out. But you see on the estimated actuals for this year, they are still showing up 62,000 and 210,000. So even though we haven't received the money yet, early May of this year, it doesn't mean that we're not going to receive the money. They both parties, the city and the school, must pay in their contributions at the end of the school year. So the money is there, but it's not there yet.
Understood. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just now next month, I'm going to get a full paycheck, even though the money is not in my bank account yet.
Thank you. Councilmember Fairforce?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So preliminary, because I'm not used to the word preliminary budget, is the same thing as projected budget? Is that the same thing in finance language? And
It's the same thing like the original budget or adopted budget.
got it.
The reason why I more feel like to put down preliminary, because just like the property insurance that I mentioned on the O&M, I know they're going to let me know the final number,
Got it.
right? But it's too early to even provide that in here. So I'm just going to put in a reasonable ballpark figure in here. But at the end of June for next month, when I'm asking the board to adopt the budget, I probably will put in the actual amount that I received. That's the reason why I like to put in preliminary. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to open for public comments. Okay, with there being none, any follow-up from anyone on the panel, committee?
Just need action on 3 items.
Okay, are we gonna do all three of them together or are we gonna do them single? Because I was just gonna do them single since they're separate years. Okay, so Ms. Dorisu, will we need to go back and revisit your documents for approval of 24-25? Because this was 23-24, right? So do you want to make some notations or point out something for 24-25?
Actually, my presentation, I'm combining 23,
Right, because I see
24,
all the
and
dates on
24, yeah.
here. Okay, but we're gonna just go ahead and do 6.1 for approval of the operations budget for 23-24. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I will second.
Okay, moved by Council Mayor Welch, second by Member Van Geffen, School Board Trustee Van Geffen. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Welch,
Aye.
member Carr,
Aye.
member Mora,
Aye.
member Pryforce,
Aye.
member Collins,
Yes.
member Donaldson,
Yes.
member Solis,
Yes.
member Van Geffen.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to approval for the 24-25 mid-year adjustments. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Mayor Wells, second by Councilmember Carr. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Member Welch,
Aye.
member Carr,
Aye.
member Mora,
Aye.
member Pryforce,
Aye.
member Collins,
Yes.
member Donaldson,
Yes.
member Solis,
Yes.
member Van Geffen.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to 6.3, approval of the capital for year 24-25. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mayor Wells, second by Councilmember Wells. Roll call, please.
Member Welch,
Aye.
member Carr,
Aye.
member Mora,
Aye.
member Pryforce,
Aye.
member Collins,
Yes.
member Donaldson,
Yes.
member Solis,
Yes.
member Van Geffen.
Yes.
Thank you. Updates from the Administrative Committee. Dr. Scott?
I want to thank those who presented this evening. The solar has been a big project for us collectively, so I would definitely appreciate the collaboration around this work. We have exciting times continuing with our expanded learning opportunity program. So summer school is working in collaboration with the city. Ms. Gray has been extremely helpful through that process this year, and Ms. Rebecca as well. We've been able to not only offer summer program from Monday through Thursday academics, but due to their support, we're also able to provide programming for our students with field trips. And the students and parents have definitely gave lots of praise as a result of that. So thank you so much for expanding that program for our students. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rebecca, did you want to chime in on anything on the city side?
Well, I would like to share two very important events coming up, if that's okay. Okay, and I'm going to turn to Ms. Gray as well to double check, but this Friday, if you're not doing anything, come by Building C. It is a talent show that you cannot miss, put on by our after-school kiddos. Starts at 5:30 p.m. here in Building C. There's a comedian, there's a dance troupe, there is a bass guitar. I mean, it's whole thing. So we hope you join us for that. The other big event that culminates the year is the Lion King at the Senior Center. This year we will be monitoring our tickets that we hand out. So we're requesting the board and the council who are interested in attending this event that they RSVP with us so we can reserve a space for you. It is on Friday, May 31st. Curtain call.
It's gonna start at 5:30, but also there's a chance that we might get the gym because there's not enough space.
We might have a venue change on us because we have double the amount of kids involved in the actual play this year. So we might have to consider the gym for this space in order to, people are flying in for this. It is the event of the year. So please let us know. We are going to release tickets to the families once we confirm the venue. So it'll either be at the senior center or the gym, but it will be close by no matter what. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, any future agenda items? Yes, Mayor Welsh?
I just wanted to note, at the previous meeting, Chair Collins mentioned changing the meeting time, setting it for 6:30, just to make it, easier for all of us to get here. So I just wanted to make sure that was put on for the next meeting. That was all.
Thank you. Okay, announcements. Member comments, anyone? Are you raising your hand?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, Councilmember Reforce.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to recognize Andre Stafford, who is running for the Assembly District. And so I just want to say thank you and welcome to Emeryville.
Okay, thank you for being here. Okay, any other announcements? Member comments? With that being said, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 7:10.